You know Allen Iverson from his Philly days, but how good was he in Denver? Iverson was the culture of the NBA in the early 2000s. He was maybe 6 feet tall, but he carried himself like Shaquille O'Neal. After an insane 10-year stretch to start his career, averaging 28 points, leading the league in scoring 4 times, and dragging that sorry 2001 Sixers team all the way to the finals, he realized his time in Philly was over. In an interview with ESPN only a few weeks after that mid-season 2006 trade, AI gave his side of the story. He talked to a young Stephen A, saying that he didn't directly tell Philly GM Billy King, "Trade me," but they both knew it was time. Iverson sat down with his teammates to let them know that he loved them, which is the underrated part of the AI story. If you're his guy, he is all in on you. Philadelphia might be the hardest place to play in the world. The fans love you 1 minute and then turn on you the next. Iverson knew as much. But according to that Stephen A interview, Philadelphia was where he became a man. He loved that city, and the city loved him back. Iverson told King that they couldn't win with this style, where he takes all the shots and you surround him with 4 role players. So in Denver, they took a totally different path. 2 guys, 1 skill set. 2 natural born scorers on the same team. Denver wanted to pair AI with their young superstar on the rise, Carmelo Anthony. They shipped over Andre Miller, Joe Smith, and a couple firsts for Allen Iverson on December 19th, 2006. Unfortunately, it took a while for Melo and AI to actually play together. On December 18th, 2006, the Nuggets and Knicks made headlines for one of the iconic brawls of the 21st century. And really, one of the last brawls this massive. Remember, this was only 2 years after the Malice at the Palace. NBA Commissioner David Stern wanted to remind the league that this was not okay. He handed out suspensions to 7 players for a total of 47 games. The most suspended player, Carmelo Anthony, a day before the AI trade. Melo was in the middle of his first All-Star season, though he was All-NBA the year before. He was only 4 years deep into his career, but he already transformed the Nuggets franchise from bottom of the barrel to a regular playoff contender. In the first 22 games of his season, Melo was averaging 31.6 points per game. If Iverson hadn't gotten traded mid-season, he almost certainly would have had another points per game trophy in his closet. The Nuggets had a borderline great team, and Iverson made them iconic. Sure, they were way worse defensively with AI on the floor for 42 minutes a game, but 2 guys in their semi-primes who just cannot be guarded, that is tough for teams to deal with. And Iverson had some insane highlights to show for it. The Nuggets suddenly had 2 guys who could finish in insane traffic. This isn't New York Melo. Back in the day, Melo attacked the rim better than most guys in the league, and yet he wasn't even the best finisher on his team. Talk about dangerous. You had a few Iverson circus shots and some sick feeds between the two. No one's mistaking Iverson for a point guard, but he finally had a competent offensive sidekick to play with. In today's NBA, the league would go nuts for 2 guys who could score like this on one team. Would they be today's Book and KD Suns? Or is this Nuggets duo even better? Let us know in the comments. The 2 had a few killer games together. Like February 18th, 2008, when Melo dropped 49 points on 76% shooting. Or AI's monster 44-10 game against the Sonics, 3 games into his Nuggets career. Just ignore those 9 turnovers. Or the first game of the Spurs playoff series, when AI and Melo both put up 30 points to steal a game off the eventual champs. But there was something way more important than his ability to finish in traffic. Something that really changed the Nuggets from within. Allen Iverson's aura is unlike any player in the league at the time. Even Kobe, a lot of guys did not like playing with Kobe for a few years there. But every teammate, every fan loved Allen Iverson. Iverson put up almost 26 points per game in his 135 Denver games, shooting more efficiently than he ever did with Philadelphia. Melo became a more aggressive player. Not aggressive as in the guy who starts a two-team brawl, and not aggressive as in a guy who jacks up bad shots. He became more calm in clutch moments, more willing to give 100% effort on every single play, like AI did. In short, Melo became a veteran. Allen Iverson was a bona fide veteran who rubbed off on everyone he played with. He's not the type of guy whose style of play makes people better. He's no Jason Kidd or Steve Nash or even Chauncey Billups. But being around a dog of a teammate makes you a dog too. Too bad the team wasn't that good with him. You have to remember, he was moving from the Eastern Conference to the West. Just like today, the West was way better. The Nuggets would have to compete with the Tracy McGrady and Yao Rockets, the Nash and Amari Suns, the Darren Williams and Carlos Boozer Jazz, Dirk's Mavericks, and of course the Kobe Lakers and the Duncan Spurs. That is a lot of Hall of Famers AI just started duking it out with on a nightly basis. In those 2 years, the Nuggets made the playoffs both times. Both times, they were bounced in the first round. In 2007, a few months after the first AI trade, the Nuggets faced off against the Spurs in round 1. As a 6th seed, they were bounced by the eventual champs in 5 games. The next year, they won 50 games but dropped down to the 8th seed because the league got better. They were swept in round 1 by the eventual champion Lakers in the first round. 2 years, 1 playoff win. You can say, hey, they lost to the best team in the league both times. Not a big deal, right? But if they won a few more games in the regular season, they wouldn't have had to play the best team in the league both times. George Karl has been on a one-man tirade against Carmelo Anthony since he last coached the eventual Hall of Famer a decade ago. And honestly, it gets pretty childish, George. But he was pretty insightful about this Melo AI pairing a few years ago. He said that when you have 2 guys who need to take 20 shots a game to be useful on the same team, it creates a bit of negative energy on the team. This was a pretty stacked team across the board. 2007 Defensive Player of the Year Marcus Camby, future 6th man J.R. Smith, savvy vets Kenyon Martin and Nene. That's a solid squad. You know what that's missing? A superstar who makes his teammates better. It's missing a point guard. Some people might look at AI and Melo and compare them to Westbrook and Durant. But the difference is Westbrook and Durant don't need the ball to be useful. If AI or Melo aren't taking shots, they aren't rebounding, they aren't playing defense, they aren't setting up their teammates, they are pure scorers through and through. The Nuggets historically have tried pairing 2 scoring guards on the same team a lot of times. Alex English and Kiki Vandeweghe, Michael Adams and Orlando Woolridge, Allen Iverson and Carmelo Anthony. And when did they get their first ring in franchise history? 2023, when their best player was a guy who relied on creating good looks for himself and teammates rather than hitting tough shots. But don't think that means the trade was a mistake. How different is Carmelo Anthony's career if he didn't play with an icon like AI so early on? Melo ended up having a career-defining year in 2009, where he was suddenly elevated to the NBA's elite. By the time he joined the Knicks in 2011, he was one of the league's marquee faces. That doesn't happen without the AI trade. From day 1 of his career, Melo was the best player on his team. That is not a good path for development for a young superstar. He needed a Hall of Famer to teach him the ropes of superstardom. And AI delivered. But really, it's the second Nuggets-Iverson trade that almost brought the Nuggets to the promised land. At the start of the 2008 and 9 season, it was clear that his prime was long gone. After 3 games, they sent Iverson to Detroit for Chauncey Billups, and the Nuggets made it all the way to the conference finals. When you talk about the Allen Iverson experience, you need to be honest about the good and the bad. He was the most electrifying player of his era, the type of guy League Pass was made for. He made teammates try harder, he made them want to win. By the time he was with Denver, his fastball might have been gone, but he was savvier and more mature than ever before. Those 2 years in Denver were special, and no one can take that away from him. But the fact is, they were better with Chauncey. Do you think the Nuggets should have traded for Iverson in the first place, or can you see how much he affected Melo's career? If they played together in their primes, would they have figured out how to win a few playoff games? Let us know in the comments, then watch one of these videos next. Listen to The Wrong Opinion, Useless NBA Trivia, and Garbage Rankings for more NBA content.